Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Do Local Good podcast, the podcast where we explore how simple acts can spark massive change right here in the Alberta Capital Region. My name is Yawa. I'm from the United Way Gen Next Cabinet, and I'm so excited to be back for today's episode. So today we're making things interesting. We are stepping out of the boardroom and into the kitchen. We often talk about networking in our careers, but what about the original social network, which is sharing a meal? Before Twitter and Instagram and TikTok, we used to sit down around a kitchen table and chit-chat over a nice home-cooked meal. And that was satire. I know some people still do, but things have changed a lot since those times. And to talk about that, we're sitting down today with Alberta Parenting for the Future Association, otherwise known as APFA. We're going to throw those four letters around a lot. And now you probably heard the word parenting and you're thinking, okay, if I don't have kids, what does this have to do with me? Either you're not at that stage yet, or maybe you're way past that stage. But the answer is yes, this is for you. Because APFA isn't just about teaching or parenting. They're using food to break down cultural barriers, fight social isolation, and then build the kind of resilient community we all want to live, work, and thrive in. So today we're talking about their cultural cooking series, which sounds very yummy, the mental health benefits behind breaking bread, and how a seat at the table can change a life. So before we dig in, it's only right that I pass it off to my esteemed guest today, Kathryn, who's going to introduce a little bit about herself before jumping in to talk about APFA and that program.
Okay, a little bit about myself. So I'm Kathryn. I'm a mother, daughter, a sister. I have 3 children, and actually, can I say this? One of my kids works at the United Way.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. And I've been at Alberta Parenting for 18 years, I think. So as we talk about today's program, I've had a lot of years to sort of watch, think, participate in process evaluations, outcome evaluations, and so this project's very exciting to me.
So you said 18 years. So were you there from like way before the program actually started? Did you have a hand
way
in
before? We were in a different building.
Oh, wow.
We just outgrew a building we were in 10 years ago and took over an old seniors home, sort of redesigned it, created a community hub. It's a project of APFA, and got involved in social innovation, social purpose real estate enterprise, just ended up diving into a whole new world.
So you're a vet. You're the perfect person then to have
Well,
here
there
today.
is one more perfect person, but I'll take the role for today.
Okay, awesome. And I know there is the Stir It Up series. So before we kind of get into the conversation, what's the difference between the cultural cooking and the Stir It Up? Are they one and the same?
They're sort of one and the same. It's
Okay.
really Stir It Up.
Okay.
And then it just has these cultural components. We're rural, so we're out in Stony Plain.
Mm-hmm.
So we the one thing about APFA is that we have to really do a lot with a little. So we don't have enough to do, say, a whole, which doesn't mean we won't get there,
right.
A whole Indigenous cooking series, or for newcomers or different countries. But we're trying to aim it at youth and bringing everyone in, and then adding those cultural elements to it.
Mm-hmm. So with that even being said, what inspired APFA to bring cultural cooking into programming, and what does the phrase "a seat at the table" mean in the community context? Personally, myself, I'm not that big of a foodie, but I know there's people where food is a whole experience. You don't just sit down and eat and then go on your day. Well, sometimes I do, but other people, it's a whole experience, a whole meaningful thing. So what inspired APFA to incorporate that?
Well, I think when we think about the Stir It Up program and the cultural cooking component, I think it comes from our initial work. So we work with families with kids 0 to 18, their parents and caregivers. So we've always done that work. And then in the last 5 years, when we became a family resource network as well, we started to really look at youth programming. It was not something we had done as much before. So in our region, there's often a lot of talk about youth mental health.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, designing this or building this community hub, the Family Connection Center, we ended up being exposed to a whole new group of people, everyone from seniors to newcomers, because we also have a food rescue program. And all of a sudden, we're seeing a lot of people who haven't had a seat at the table. And so we focused it in on youth, but we were really trying to reach Indigenous families, newcomer families. We also have 4 First Nations that are either within our service region or touch our service region. So we have this opportunity to work with people that are often not given a chance to participate or be there.
So it sounds like the whole premise of it was to have this informal programming where people can feel like they belong, but then also there's different ways to do that, where sometimes it's like group activities, or one thing I also say, I'm an advocate of being anti-PowerPoint presentation. So not having, the youth come in and sit down and listen to a PowerPoint presentation that they maybe don't care about, but food, which 12, 13, 14-year-old doesn't like food? And it's not them just sitting down and eating. Do they also get to participate in cooking too? Do they get to learn from elders? Do they get to learn from other community members? How does that kind of work?
No, totally. And when you said that, I'm like, the worst thing you can do with youth is be boring.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I was thinking back to what you said in the beginning, and that was really also the inspiration. We thought, for me growing up, a lot of what I know are ways in which I move through the world happened around a kitchen table, like, my mom, my grandparents, aunts, uncles. So we knew, because this was an old senior center, that we had this kitchen, and we're like, oh, this is a gift.
Yeah, we can make this work.
Yeah, we can make this work. So with the youth, we definitely have had elders, and they came in and they did a teaching around bannock making. But then the youth, not only did they get to make the bannock, but then they took it to a talking circle and shared it with the people that were at the talking circle. They also did some cooking and shared it with the Moose Hide talking circle, which was around gender-based violence in May. They also, we have people from different cultures, and they've been able to bring relatives and stuff in to share. One of the ways that we do want to grow it is maybe having people come in and do recipes from where they come from.
Or like their own cultural background.
Yeah. And so we've been really working with some of our United Way partners to sort of build those relationships. But one thing we know for sure is relationships take a lot of work.
Yeah.
And you have to move slowly and really build on that. But yeah, there are no PowerPoints.
Awesome. Sign me up.
We even did, we had Bantero come in, and they did the 7 sacred teachings before we did cooking. But they actually did this teaching, but then gave the kids skits. So they got to practice these skits and then look at which teaching they did. And I think the one that really resonated with the youth was all around accountability. And when you're in a kitchen, you have to practice accountability. You can't say, you screwed up that part of the recipe. It's kind of like, oh, shoot.
We both
had
a part
I put
to
a
play.
quarter cup of salt in there. That was really me. So it's really hands-on learning. The kids themselves, they talk a lot about the sort of things they've learned is patience. And for kids who are growing up in this TikTok, Instagram world, that immediate feedback, cooking doesn't happen that way. You have to have patience. You have to sometimes wait and let things simmer. Another thing we hear from a lot of adults in the room is that kids don't know how to socialize anymore. The kitchen is a busy place. There's no time for phones. Number one, because you have to practice good hygiene. So you can't pick up your phone. But also, we just keep them busy and really invested in the cooking. And so a lot of them talk about, I learned to become patient. For some maybe who've had a really hard time being with other kids, they talk about, I can stand beside somebody and I know this probably sounds strange, but I can make a recipe now. Like before, being beside other people kind of got them very agitated.
Yeah, overstimulated or anxious.
Yeah, so now they can do that. Being able to plan ahead. And, you have to kind of handle your emotions or have a plan of what you're going to do if you get upset because, we're handling knives. And so, there's a lot of learning that comes. Like the kitchen is just the tool for the learning. Yeah.
And these are things you don't think about at the beginning where maybe you tell someone, we have kids come in and cook and it helps their mental health. And you're like, how? Why? Yeah. Which was my question is how does that translate into tangible benefits for the kids that come in? You kind of touched on that a little bit.
Yeah. So if if I think about the skills that people need to be successful or to like, I mean, everybody's level of resilience or mental health is different.
Right.
But when you feel confident and competent, you know how to prioritize, you know how to plan ahead. You start to use critical thinking skills. If this doesn't work, what could I do instead? And the kitchen is a place to fail. And learn that it's okay to fail. I don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
I had another thought, and I hope I come back to it because I've kind of forgotten in there. But yeah, the kitchen is such a great spot to build mental health skills.
And then back to that connection piece too, where, like you said, in this day and age, it's easy to have the illusion of being connected, like on social media and on your phones, versus when you're in a kitchen surrounded by other people. I don't want to say forced, but in a way you're kind of forced to connect. You're forced to interact and socialize and make those connections. And have you seen like these are connections that are genuine and lasting with the kids that kind of come in maybe one way, and then after a while they realize like, okay, this kitchen is a place that I feel like I belong.
Yeah, and they will talk about that. We try multiple ways, so we kind of have simple questions through chit chat. And while I look kind of old, another thing that we do really well is most of the staff working in the kitchen are 25 and under, so they relate more. We're kind of there for guidance, but the kids really identify that they've made a friend, or that when somebody's not there, they're like, oh, where are they? I hope they're okay. Or, you know, they'll say, oh, he's not coming tonight. And they're from a different school in the neighboring town, but they know because they've created an online friendship now as well, which, I mean, that's part of who young people are. So,
Right.
Yeah.
And do you think this is something that's like novel? Like how often do you hear of like cooking programs for kids, or this kind of programming for like youth? And
I think it's very novel. I think that we have lots of programs, and in our region, there's not a lot of cooking programs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of learn to cook, but it's very structured, and ours isn't. You know, the fact that you can take a recipe home and follow it, wow, that's great.
Yeah.
But that's not the major outcome. So I think ours is new. The other two pieces that are really interesting in our program is every 4 weeks, out of those 4 weeks, they make a meal that goes back into our community fridge. So they are giving back to the community this sense of purpose. And when we talk to these youth, we did a whole engagement session and we made it fun. We brought candy. And we talked to them about why it was important. And they said that it gave them a sense of purpose, which I think is really important for a lot of the young people. They don't necessarily feel they have a sense of purpose.
Right.
They were also able to identify who in their community might not have access to food. And that was really important. And then one of the young fellows put together a speech from all their information. He spoke at a community group, he's only in grade 7, around different food resources in our community. And his mom videotaped him, and his dad showed it at his business, and they made a donation to the program.
Oh, wow. Just based off of that.
Yeah. So these kids were like, oh yeah, we can affect change. And they were able to identify very quickly things like what could make it different for people. Well, if people could make enough money to afford food, they should be able to. So, you know, and we asked them, like, can young people make a change? And then they did this.
Clearly,
so,
yeah.
It was great.
And that point of purpose, because when you think about kitchen or like cooking in like a micro sense, it is very purposeful. Everything that you do, whether it's boiling water, adding a certain amount of salt or sugar versus a different amount, is with the intention of having a specific outcome. So having the kids come in and know, I'm not just here to hang out, I'm here for a specific purpose, or what I make is actually going somewhere or affecting change, makes like a very, very big difference, which goes back to like that mental health piece of improved mental health and the outcomes that we're looking for in youth. Is awesome. And kind of going back to having the folks in the kitchen, the kids in the kitchen, do they all come from different backgrounds? And it's almost like, what do they have to talk about with each other? You can almost think at first, like, what am I going to say to this person when I get in this kitchen? I don't know them from, you know, a can of paint, but how do those conversations actually come up?
Well, you know, it's really funny because when you say that, we have kids who are Indigenous, non-Indigenous kids. We have kids from other countries that English isn't their first language. We have kids who come with a respite worker because, you know, they just, you know, they wouldn't be able to attend the program otherwise. And you think to yourself, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
And sometimes you just lean over and it's usually silly stuff like, onions burn your eyes. Did you know that? Or at one point we got food rescue and they were sweet potatoes, not yams, but they all thought they were potatoes. They're silly. Their conversations are very silly.
Which is all you need sometimes for kids. Like they don't need to talk about, maybe this is their space to not talk about the serious things or maybe worry about the things that might be happening in their life. It's like you've given them a space where they can literally just be kids. And where you said the kitchen is a place to fail, I think that's a really important lesson too, where you can screw up a recipe and it's not the end of the world. You can just come back and try again, which does translate to how I think real life should be, where you make a mistake and it's not the end of the world. You get the chance to try again.
Yes. And I was thinking too, at one point they were all talking about cake pops because apparently cake pops are not universal. And for people in other countries, they were like, what is a cake pop? Oh. And that became one day a whole conversation that we then had to make cake pops because what are these?
So I guess if you're from a country where cake or like different shapes of cake. And that was a thing they did.
With a stick and you eat it on a stick. Yeah, it was very funny. And they teach me a lot. They teach me to slow down, to really listen to people. And throughout this year, as we've had a number of different iterations of the program, the youth have really identified that they feel our building is safe, which I think for us is the most important outcome. And just a place that also once a month they bring their parents and anybody who's a loved one in their life. So just gathering with multi-generations, like extending those connections and
And with this being kind of like a novel thing that you kind of shared and it sounds like really impactful, I'm sure there's some challenges that you have in terms of, it could be whatever, like resources, capacity, that kind of thing. What have you seen as like the toughest?
Well, for sure, resources. It's a labor intensive program because we also work with the schools and our region has sort of protocols around certain youth that may be high risk and we really welcome them into the program as well. We want every youth to be able to be successful, but that means having more staff members so that it eases it in. So I think it is an expensive program. Food is also really expensive, we have multiple supporters there that help with the program. And also, because we're in a rural region, it's interesting, in Stony Plain, the buses end at one time, or school gets out at one time, in Spruce Grove, they get out at a different time, and then in the county. So having, trying to pick a time that works with everyone, so that's been a bit tricky. And ideally, we would like, it's worked out really well that kids have felt really, they've made such incredible friendships, but it would be nice to be able to offer a program for people with similar experiences where maybe even for some of our LGBTQ youth, that everybody comes in and we do really create this safe space, but maybe it would be nice to have programs that could, I don't know that there's enough time or days in the week to do it all, but yeah, just because we're small, it's hard in rural areas that to be able to do everything. So we just have tried to make it as inclusive as possible and really listen, really listen to the youth themselves.
So if you were to paint a picture kind of how the program works in terms of how many kids you have on any given day, how many days of the week, how you buy your ingredients, how you pick the recipes, what does that kind of look like?
We kind of run it in 12-week blocks. So and sometimes we have kids who can only do a 12-week block, and then some continuously come through. The first month we kind of pick the recipes for later, but it's very structured in the first week to kind of assess kids' skills, to really build those friendships amongst themselves, see what kind of skills do they have around knives before we just...
Oh, it's like cooking skills, so you don't put
so they're looking
master chef with the person who just came in.
So the first week we tend to do something that requires a lot of chopping of a vegetable or a fruit and a fun food, and then figure out what kinds of foods they like, and we do a mix of make your own recipe versus work as a team. And the first of the 4-week series, so they do it 3 times. they do a fun food and they some sort of activity. We've often had speakers come in like Vantero or a group to talk. And then they make a meal to take home, they make a meal for the community, and then the last one is one to share with the family. So by the time we've hit the last 4 weeks, we've really hit our stride. And we also get that mentorship piece because the kids who sort of stay in are able to mentor
the new kids that come in.
The new kids, yeah. So, yeah, it feels like it's not really structured, that there's this room, but it's very structured.
Yeah, on the back end, you're not just kind of throwing the kids in the kitchen and say, okay, just cook something up. Like there's a plan in place, but then when the kids get in the kitchen, they don't feel that structure.
Yeah.
And it's like that's the intent, where they don't feel like there's a structure, but it's organized enough where you know that they're going to gain these skills or have this experience kind of thing.
And it's grown so much in December for what we're doing. We're actually outside the kitchen doing a lot of the prep work and then the cooking in the ovens inside. So we're like, how do we include more kids and utilize the space differently? So that has been a new creative piece that we're trying. And I think it's working well because with the kids spread out a little bit more, it's easier to see things happen quickly. Like if there is going to be a conflict, you can sort of catch it and address it quickly.
Before,
and for some kids too, they have sensory issues too. So the kitchen with the fans can be loud. So
And when you say like kids in the kitchen, how many kids are in like the kitchen at any given time?
We try to keep it at 12 if they were in the kitchen, and that's about 5 staff. But when we move it out, we can have upwards of 25.
Okay.
Yeah. So
it's too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah. And when they come with their families, and sometimes they bring a neighbor, a favorite neighbor, a senior that they know, younger. It can be upwards of. We've had like 70 people all eating their meal together. So it really gets hectic.
Yeah. And when you talk about that mentorship piece, obviously the kids make connections with each other, but what has like your connection with like the kids been like, or like what do they see you as when you kind of,
it's really interesting because at first I kind of tried to stay a bit in the background because I'm older and I get it. Like I'm not offended. My kids are in their 20s. I see it. But then one day the session was coming to an end and we were starting the next one, and this one young fella, and I thought I was really boring, to be honest. And then he said, well, will you be here? And I said, oh yeah, I'll be there. And he was like, yes. And I was like,
you want me to be here?
I think
I'm cool.
I'm cool. But the thing is, sometimes I just try to be me. I can't pretend I'm young because I'm not. And oh boy, kids get people that are not authentic right away. Like you cannot pretend to be cool or know stuff. And like you just have to, I'm older. I don't know what you're talking about. It's true. But just get busy. One of the other things that we try to incorporate in there is time to play. And I almost forgot to mention that. And play is so important to youth. And when I sit at tables with other adults, one of the things that they often wish for kids like 11 and up is that they could play more. And recently, I do have to give a plug we were the Engineering Day of Caring project this year, and they created this wonderful sort of tree house that these youth, if they finish early, cannot wait to get out and play in. And the kitchen is a place to play as well, and I think that most kids don't get to do that.
So when you say play, does that mean like they'll go in and they'll cook, they'll finish their meal, and then they'll have a chance to kind of like
run around outside? Okay. Yeah, so sometimes it's tag, sometimes it's soccer, sometimes it's imaginative games. Sometimes they want a very specific one, and sometimes they just want to grab a stick and run around and pretend they're pirates, I think, in the ship. And it's a treehouse, but...
So with, obviously there's the workers and then you have the kids. Are there volunteers? Like a lot of our listeners really look for ways to be hands-on with the programs that are connected with United Way, but is there any space or room for...
Well, we typically, I never say no to volunteers. And we have somebody at our office who does take the information. We can always use volunteer help with our food rescue program. Sometimes with the youth, there's just processes that we have to go through with... you have to do your criminal record
background check,
all of that kind of thing. And really, if we're working with the youth, we all of our staff are Brain Story certified, which is free, and we really encourage any volunteers to also do that. That trauma-informed lens is so important.
Right.
That Brain Story is incredible. It's free. If you haven't done it, do it.
We'll plug it out. Everyone listening right now, go and do Brain Story. Kathryn says.
And then if they, the food rescue day is a day we can always really use help, or packaging the food up. Sometimes they only get enough time to make the food and they don't get to package. Sometimes we do pre-prep when the kids aren't there, and then they finish it and make it, because then they get to put the sticker on and put it in the fridge and see it. So.
And do you mind just clarifying, like the food rescue day, is that like an add-on to the startup program?
It's just something that our community hub started to do. Okay. So families 0 to 99 in Parkland County, Stony Plain, Spruce Grove, on Wednesdays, whatever food we receive from the local food bank is just there free to families.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And like, obviously this is a very impactful program. What would be, and this is obviously a hypothetical, but I really want to emphasize and highlight to anyone listening, like the importance of this program. What do you think the impact would be if this wasn't there anymore? If like the kids that you have coming in don't have this as an option anymore, they don't get to make these connections, get to learn these skills, what would that be like?
Oh my gosh. If I go back to the mental health piece again, so many of these kids have not had the opportunity to build skills. I saw something recently, somebody talked about stealing self-esteem from kids. We don't let them do enough. So many of these kids build confidence that I just can't believe, and build confidence in that they can make something, that they can make friends, that they are capable, that people believe, and their parents believe in them. I don't know how to put it, but I think it would be a huge loss as a truly building life skills mental health program.
No, 100%. And that capacity piece too, it's like, this was the other day, it's a simple example, but I made guacamole from scratch for the first time because I had these overripe avocados. And the feeling of taking this thing where I'm like, this could either turn out disastrous and I could waste these 5 avocados and destroy my self-esteem, or create something good. And I shared it with my friends and they're like, oh, this is great. I need the recipe for this. And I was like, sure, I'll send it to you. But on the inside, I was like, oh my God, I made something that tasted good and that people liked. And for the first time, I didn't see them like spit it out. It really is a game changer. And obviously, like I like to consider that I am still young, but for a 12 or 13-year-old, having that type of confidence where they made something that somebody valued themselves goes a long way. And that piece of stealing self-esteem, which sounds like what would happen if this program wasn't there anymore. You would steal the opportunity or steal the self-esteem from anywhere from 12 to 25 youth. Which is devastating. So I hope that, this program gets to continue. And I don't know what are the plans for that. Is that to continue to make it bigger, to maybe come into the city?
We're definitely continuing in January, and we're just kind of playing with some process pieces around capacity for staff. But there's no plans to stop it at this time.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So maybe that's the next field trip that our Gen Next, which is a youth volunteer cabinet. So technically, we fit the criteria for the program. We'll have to take a field trip.
Well, thank you for making me feel young too. Then
we're all youth. We're all youth. But I know we did take that field trip to tour the APFA, but now the field trip is going to have to be to participate in the program and make something delicious. So,
and we do bring people in to cook with them, like our mental health community connectors from the local Kickstand project. They'll come and they'll cook with them, and just in a way, interact, as the young people say, vibe with them.
Okay, so Gen Next, the title of the email, coming to vibe at APFA.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, this is an incredible way to look at how something as simple as like a recipe can become a catalyst or turn community connection into something like in a way that we never expected. So a huge thank you to yourself and all our other friends at the Alberta Parenting for the Future Association for sharing your story and taking time to come all the way out from Stony Plain. I'm sure it was a nice 40, 50-minute drive in this winter condition.
Instruction.
But here's your digital handshake for the week. If you were inspired by the idea of using your skills, whether that's cooking, budgeting, or just being a friendly face to help a neighbor, we want you on our team. So you can, I think there's like a link in the show notes, or go to YouTube or Spotify to see the latest volunteer opportunities with the United Way partners like the APFA. And like Kathryn shared, they're always looking for people to help out with the food rescue program. And I'm sure that includes getting a meal afterwards, some incentive for them. Or
Oh, well, that day we could save some.
Okay,
we
there
would
you
make
go.
that
There you
incentive.
go.
We could do that.
just for you volunteer, you get some food from the organization. So thank you so much. You don't have to be an expert chef, I'm sure, or they'll do a little testing skill to see where to place whether or not you can chop the carrots or the bell peppers. But either way, thank you so much for listening. My name is Yawa again. So excited to have Kathryn here sharing all the amazing work that's happening with the youth at the APFA. And this is your sign to do local good. So we hope you enjoyed the episode. We enjoyed being here and talking, and we will see you all next time.